Welcome back, We've had better days here as Baltimore sports fans and local sports fans. Certainly is nice when baseball season returns. Certainly is nice when the NFL schedule and the draft comes out. It's even nicer when the local teams are playing better right now. Certainly the Orioles not playing well. The Capitals a mess. Even the Wizards stunk in Game 1. We welcome Dennis Koulatsos in, who is a fan of the MMA, professional wrestling, and other things that have piqued his interest. I tell you what, must be better than being a Caps or an Orioles fan here lately, Dennis.
Yeah, you know what? You got that right. It's been pretty brutal for the local fans, hasn't it? And the NFL draft can't get here quick enough for me, Nestor.
Have you watched the Andre the Giant special yet?
I have, I can't because there's just so many great sporting events.
No, you got to watch it. You got to watch it.
I've got to make time for it. Look, there's only so many hours in the day, and you know what? I need all the beauty sleep that I can get.
I've been talking to a lot of people about it the last couple of days, and I don't want to say I don't know why I'm fascinated, but I guess I do know why. There's never been anything like Andre, so I don't know why the last couple of days, anyone that wants to talk about Andre with me, I will talk about it because the movie was so well done and it sort of brought him back to life. You know, he's alive again, right, and real and moving, and it's been a quarter of a century since I've seen him, so I wanted to talk some Andre with you. You need to watch that at some point so we could talk about something sort of positive around here because I can't talk about the Orioles pitching. I can't talk about the Caps blowing two goal leads 2 games in a row. It was really a lost weekend all the way around.
Yeah, it really was. It's a real head scratcher. The Orioles of pitching has got to come around. Alex Cobb got absolutely bombed in his debut, of course, and we saw the Caps, like as you mentioned, blow 2 goal leads. And look, it's been good hockey, physical hockey, but I've been enjoying again your feedback on Twitter, and you guys have sucked me into playoff hockey, and I'm hoping that they can come back and at least make a series out of it.
Well, it's a lot more fun when they win, and it's a lot more fun when they're winning. You know, they go out and get a couple of 2-goal leads. You expect this to hold up. And I talked to Dougie McLean earlier. I mean, Eddie Frankovic and I have talked about it. This is fascinating, Dennis, from a coaching standpoint. And I would even put this out there. The NBA, you pretty much know who's playing and where they're playing. Baseball, the manager has to figure out which pitcher he's going to use which night in the playoffs, lineups, matchups, pinch hitting. There's a lot of things that goes on. Obviously, in the NFL, we all sit here and we hire and fire the head coach, the offense coordinator, defense coordinator, the quarterback. But in hockey, I can't imagine anything more difficult than having 2 goaltenders and having to figure out which guy you're going to send out there. And Trotz has had that, and Trotz has guessed wrong this week. I don't know, educated guessing, gut feel, instinct, being around the game for 4 decades as Trotz has been. He picked the wrong goaltender the first 2 games. That's pretty obvious, right?
Yeah, but did Hopi have a much better record against the Colorado? The Grubauer, didn't he have a much better record than him?
I'll say this. Hopi was playing really well the last 3 weeks of the season, and they had gotten into this nice rotation. Hopi really stunk back in January and February, and that's kind of where Grubauer started to play a little more often, a little bit more key games. Grubauer was always playing that 4th game, that 5th game, that 2nd game against the weaker team. Usually they wanted Hopi to play the better team. Hopi's a $6 million player. Grubauer's going to be an unrestricted free agent here when the season's over. So I found it fascinating that Trotz, with all this experience, decided internally that I want Grubauer, and then after he lost Game 1, blew the lead, then he doesn't go back to Hopi. Hopi's now given up 1 goal, and the team's down 0-2. It's very, very, this is why you guys make the big bucks, right? It's very, very difficult proposition to be the guy just saying eeny, meeny, miny, mo, and putting the wrong guy in there.
Well, then educate me on this, Nestor. In the NFL, of course, we always say that if you have 2 quarterbacks, you don't have any. Is it the same thing with hockey? If you have 2 goaltenders, you truly don't have any? Is that
no, I don't think that's the case at all. Okay. I think the idea would be to have one going so well that and this has been Grubauer's been very, very good. I mean, over the last 3 years, Grubauer's been very good. Grubauer, quite frankly, would have been a guy they easily could have lost to the Las Vegas Golden Knights, or the Vegas. They don't use the loss. They've lost the loss. They're just the Vegas Golden Knights. Right. He would have been a guy that would have been gone, and you always felt good when he played in that backup role, playing those 15, 18, 20 games a year, whatever it was going to be, because he did play well. And you always felt like, well, if Hopi pulls his hamstring in the playoffs, Grubauer could come in there and do a pretty, credible job. Well, all that changed when Holtby got bad enough 2.5 months ago, to give Grubauer more than, Grubauer was coming in and playing mop-up several times, coming in February in relief because Holtby just stunk, and they're losing 3-0 or 4-0. So Trotz had to do that, and once you do that, why don't you start dating the new girl? Why don't you start, eating the new ice cream? You might not go back to chocolate anymore, or vanilla anymore, or strawberry anymore. I think it's a fascinating study that if this thing ends by the weekend and the Capitals are eliminated, clearly Trotz is going to be looking for another line of work. Clearly this is going to land on Ovechkin. It's going to land on Backstrom. It's going to land on Carlson and the veteran players that are making the big bucks. And Carlson's another guy that's going out to the market when all this is over with. He's ending his term, as they say, with the team. But this is a hell of a way to go out, especially when they're not getting killed, when they're not unlucky, when they're going out and getting 2-goal leads at home and blowing it. This is a new way for them to lose, Dan.
Yeah, meanwhile, the Penguins, they're eyeing up a three-peat. They've got it well in their sights, and look, they're chasing a historical run here, aren't they?
Yeah, and the Flyers are in their way, and the Columbus Blue Jackets would be in their way. Dennis Koulatsos is out at Coons Florida Security Boulevard. He will be here on Thursday from 3 until 5. There's no chance the Capitals are eliminated by then, but they could be eliminated after then. He'll be here for the weekend as well. The NFL schedule coming out this week, the draft next week. Any draft thoughts you got 10 days out on this, Dennis? I know it's your thing. It's your favorite thing of the year. Yeah, I want to give you a chance to expand out a little bit on it. I know a lot of times our moods and our rankings and the favor and the pundits, the winds move a lot here over the next 10 days, and guys move up and down the board, allegedly, right?
Yeah, it's going to be a very fascinating draft with all these quarterbacks and all these quarterback-needy teams. Nestor, a lot of trades could be in the horizon, but I'd like to get your quick take on Des Bryant. I know the Ravens are interested. Is he interested in the Ravens? Could this be, they have enough cap space that they can actually sign him. I don't think there's going to be as many people in the market as he thinks there will be for his services. So is this going to be a Ozzy's last stand, a kind of signing?
I'm fascinated by the Cowboys just saying, we don't want you here. You're not worth the trouble anymore. And I would say, he was a guy who was a lot of trouble. And look, a lot of these guys that are completely nuts when they're 22, 23, 24 because they've never had an adult in their life who didn't enable them in some way. And certainly for the wide receivers, that's been a tradition in this league over a quarter of a century, right? And he falls right into that. It's interesting to see when the skill set goes a little bit that the Dallas Cowboys, who watched him punch his mother, amongst other things, and let him go out there, that all of a sudden they're now done with him. That tells me that I should be very, very, very leery. That's all I would say at this point, Dan.
Yeah, by all accounts, the only person that wants him back is Jerry Jones. His son, Steven, doesn't want him back. Jason Garrett doesn't want him back. Not sure his teammates even want him back. And I think his feelings are going to get hurt because I don't think it's going to be as many teams out there vying for his services as he initially thought. It just might be the Green Bay Packers and the Baltimore Ravens, for all I know.
Okay, well, and at what price then? And at what role and at what level of expectations? And Luke said this earlier, it's not 2010 anymore. It's 2018. And the most important thing is they can get a special guy next Thursday or next Friday. And next Saturday, maybe, right? Antonio Brown or whatever. But I would assume if they're going to get a special guy, it's going to come with a first or second or third round pick that is a guy in 2020, 21, and 22, we're talking about catching 60, 70, 80, 90 balls. And that's the most important thing because that's not going to be Des Bryant, whether it's this year or not. And I think that there is baggage that comes with this cat, and part of the baggage is the Cowboys didn't want him anymore. What does that say?
Well, it says to me that they made a business decision. They're letting a player go a year or two too early versus a year too late, which is a switch from the way that Jerry Jones operates to meet signals for that organization. And maybe Stephen Jones now has a bigger voice in that front office, which is a good thing for them. For our purposes, we're trying to win right now. And Crabtree and Brown, and if you bring in Bryant, in addition to a high draft pick or two at wide receiver, then you have some toys for Joe Flacco that he sorely needs for this season if they are to sniff their way into the playoffs.
He is Dennis Koulatsos. He's over at Kuntz Ford Security Boulevard. He'll be here on Thursday, driving you home from 3 until 5. It is the SSV on WNST. And, of course, our tech service will be there when the NFL schedule comes out this week, when the draft picks hit next week, when the Orioles get their Norfolk shuttle going out of Detroit, and then at home this weekend against the Cleveland Indians. What's going on out of Kuntz Ford there, Dennis? I know spring has sprung. We got cherry blossoms, and I know a couple of 80-degree days over the weekends have you all of a sudden moving from the heated steering wheels and the heated seats to the, hey, look at the rag tops over here. Look at that convertible, right?
Absolutely. It's Ford Motor Company, Nestor. They've reached out to their customer base. Right now, you should check your mail, your inbox, direct mail campaign. They're giving up $750 to $3,000 certificates to their customer base. So we're seeing people coming in here with $1,500, $750, $2,000, $3,000 above and beyond, which is the strongest direct market campaign that Ford Motor Company has ever had. I'm sure that Jen has an offer someplace for her vehicle, her Ford, and that's really driving the market for us right now, because I just had a customer Saturday. We have $5,000 back on the Ford Focus. They got a $3,000 offer. That's $8,000. They paid 50% of the retail value of that vehicle. Just an outstanding time to come out of here and save some money.
Hey, man, I appreciate the heads up on that. I did not know that was going on out there. Anything you want to say on the schedule coming out of the draft? Obviously, it plans my entire fall, and for everyone who's a PSL owner, and I know that includes you, it also lets you know what weekends who is coming here. And, I think it gets us kind of steamed up here over the next 10 days. This is the football season again, right? These are the 2 weeks a year where it is football season.
Hey, I'm happy that my show is on the 26th. That's Thursday. That's the first day of the draft. It's going to be a big party. It's going to be a very entertaining first round. Look, Cleveland's taking the quarterback, but after that, all hell's going to break loose. The Giants may take a running back. They may trade back. They may take an end. They may take a quarterback. We expect to see lots of trades, lots of movement. It should be a very, very fun first round. You can better believe the Ravens, if they stay still at 16, they're going to get one heck of a football player, either a quarterback or one of these top guys just slides right down to them that can help the team right away, which is exactly what they need.
Hey, he is, Dennis. We're going to find him each and every place you can find people these days, whether it's Facebook, whether it's Twitter, and the SSV on WNST, and certainly here on Thursday afternoon driving you home. Dennis, I've saved the worst for last. I mean, we'll talk some Andre after you see Andre. I know I went nuts on your show last week talking about wrestling and WrestleMania and my childhood, and remembering that I did go down to the ring and high-five Andre when I was a little boy in 1978. Yeah. I wish my mom were still alive to tell some Andres. She loved Andre. Not as much as Bobo Brazil and Bruno, but she loved Andre. But this version of the Orioles right now, I've saved this to the end. I just want to hear whatever it is that you have to say. Now we're hearing that John Angelos is running the place. They've sort of confirmed that unofficially now, that Father Angelos has stepped aside, and they've said that Brady Anderson was part of the Cobb deal, part of this Valencia and all this other nonsense that's going on in the offseason, that Duquette's not around anymore and he's being phased out. And, oh, by the way, the season looks like it could be over before it starts at this point, right?
It's still at a very early point. I know that people are writing off Manny Machado already, which, look, I'm not ready. It's a game of peaks and valleys, and they just started the season. They can certainly go on the streak here and turn things right around, just like they did a weekend ago against the Yankees. But so I'm still very optimistic. We'll see what happens. And look, with the younger Angelos running the club now, maybe there is a shot they're able to bring Manny back at the right price, if that's what they want to do.
Well, certainly the decision maker will be different, right? I mean, the whole notion that Daddy would run everything, as we've seen here for 25 years, that's over with. Daddy's not there to say yes or no to $300 million. He's also not there to fight with the New York Supreme Court anymore over the $350 million. And Dennis, at the end of this, if you and Margot had a $350 million lien on your life and your company right now, I would think you would be concerned about that. And that certainly is what the Orioles, the boys, Mama Angelos, the Masson Network, all of this wealth the old man has accumulated now. There is $400 million of it in dispute right now, which is going to greatly affect Machado. It's going to greatly affect Harper down in D.C. It's going to affect Major League Baseball, I think, in a big way, this money.
Hey, you know what? Look, not all problems are bad. I don't think it's a terrible problem to have, right? I'd like to have that kind of a problem in my life.
Have a $2 billion asset and a $400 million lien. Is that right?
Yeah, all day. Look, all day long. I'll take that. Right? I'd like to know what that's like.
But
that a lot of people would.
But you know what it would be like? It would be like giving up $400 million that you don't have anymore, that you can't give the baseball players, that you can't have fun with anymore. And, no one ever mentions that. It's astonishing to me that I'm the only guy in the local media that mentions a $400 million dispute that this guy's going to die and leave his family with. That affects the baseball team, its position in the marketplace, its future, its financial viability, all of that. Because if they didn't have this $400 million, if Peter had a regular deal and just would have gotten his $150 million and squeezed another $200 or $300 million off the backside of this thing, if that's all he would have gotten out of this deal, which is what they kind of thought the deal they were giving him back in 2005. Hey, dude, your franchise is worth $200 million. We're going to offer you $3.25. As a floor. So there's $125 million. Here's $75 million, and then we'll give you another $20 or $30 million of TV money for the next 5-10 years. That should be enough to make you go away, right? No. I want $150 million a year, every year for 10 years. I want 90% of their revenue. When the revenue comes in and they claim some of it, I'm not going to give it to them. This has gone on for 20 years now. I mean, it really is an incredible thing, and it's going to fall to the family. And when the team falls apart because they lose this lawsuit, it is going to be money that Mr. Angelos never thought he was going to have to give back. It's money that sat on their side of the table for so long, it feels like it's theirs. You know what I mean?
Yeah, but he also has so many other investments, Nestor, in land and property, and his law firm is still doing extremely well. So, again, they're worth a lot more.
But that doesn't mean that the baseball team's going to do well, Dan, right? I mean, my point is there were 2,500 people at the game every night last week. At some point, the Masson money's drying up. The fan base is long since dried up, right? The corporate money is gone from the Orioles. I'm wondering the viability of the franchise. Literally, where is the money going to come from once the TV that nipple goes away, and how are they going to monetize it so they can be competitive, so that they're not the Tampa Bay Rays moving forward once the family sucked all the money out of it, which they've done, quite frankly, over the last 15 years.
Yeah, but we like what they're doing, though. We like them bringing those kids under 9 to the stadium. They're starting to make some moves, making the concession prices affordable. So to me, there's an undercurrent there. Looks like they're moving in the right direction.
But are people going to come back? I agree with all that. I agree. Free kids. I love all that. That's all good. But until it moves the needle, until they have 40,000 people down there seeing meaningless baseball, because it looks like they're going to have a lot of meaningless baseball this year, right? Until people start coming there in masse because of this free kids thing, or because of whatever, because the team's good, because they love Adam Jones, because they love coming downtown, whatever. Hey, Light City was huge this weekend, Dennis. I mean, people came downtown this weekend before the weather got bad on Sunday. That's for sure.
No, I saw the pictures. I saw your posts. I mean, look, never mind what the media wants us to believe. There's downtown. It's vibrant on a nice weekend, isn't it?
When the weather's good, there's no finer place to be than walking through the Inner Harbor with those beautiful lights. I know what's going on this weekend as well. So, you know me, I'm a civic advocate. So, I go back to 2006 and everything I did, the walkout, Free the Birds and all that. That really was about me saying there's tumbleweed blowing up Conway Street, and that's not why we built the stadium and gifted this franchise over to have 2,100 people downtown on a Tuesday night seeing a baseball team, right? So that's been my concern for years and years and years, is that it's hurting downtown, and we have this Light City thing that we dream up, right, and put this stuff downtown, and tens of thousands of people came down over the weekend. I remember when the Orioles were that, and for them to be that again, they don't just need free kids. They need John Angelos to step up and go out and be an active, participatory owner. They need someone on the front of this thing, and they've never had that. They've never had anyone nice at the front door saying, come in, come to our ballpark. We want you at the stadium. Instead, I've got that jerk Brady Anderson telling me my wife and I should leave the city if we don't like it.
Right. Well, you know what? The city is underrated, and it's a sleeping giant, just like the Orioles organization, and that's what we fight for, Nestor, is the potential of what can be downtown.
Well, I try to remain optimistic. You know that. I'm an optimist by nature. Yeah. And certainly walking around with 40,000 people, black, white, young, old, peacefully walking the harbor, looking at art, seeing children out enjoying ice cream on an 80-degree night on Saturday, and as crowded as I've ever seen it, other than the celebration. Saturday night, there were more human beings elbow to elbow from one end of Baltimore to the other end. But you couldn't get into the city. I mean,
great.
We had the fights going on. Johnny Rollo over at the Royal Farms Arena. We had Grandmaster Flash was in town. That'll take you back to your childhood then.
There you go.
And there were just people everywhere. So that's what I want the Orioles to be, right? I mean,
and
I won't rest until that happens.
Yeah, we root hard for the downtown businesses. You and I have a lot of friends on every city block downtown. So you want those places to thrive and to be vibrant and to be profitable.
I walk by Reggie's every day on my way to yoga. It's closed. It's out of business. They're gone. Bye. See you. So we don't need any more of that. Dennis, love you. Appreciate you. We'll see you on Thursday, 3 until 5. And obviously, might have a schedule by then. Might not. We'll know. But all I know is Luke just wants to know when we're playing Kansas City so you can get barbecue. That's all.
That's a good thing.
See you soon, brother.
Appreciate it. Thanks.
There he goes. Dennis Koulatsos of Coons Florida Security Boulevard doing therapy with me on Thursdays, usually between 3 and 5. Usually I appear in the 4 o'clock hour. If you want to stop by for that, of course, he'll be here, as always, sponsoring our WNST Tech Service. It's all brought to you by Coons Ford of Security Boulevard. Breaking news, and you get it first. You know all about that. I am Nestor. We are WNST.net, AM 1570, and WNST Towson, Baltimore, and we never stop talking Baltimore sports.